Hello, I'm EG, and this is Crocheting with EG. And in this video, I'm just going to be sitting here crocheting and just talking about a couple random things, because I don't have a whole lot of stuff to show. I have been working on some things, but and one of the things that I'm working on, I'm just not ready to show yet, because I don't know how it's going to turn out. But I have been working on a couple things, but I don't have a whole lot of like yarn and all that kind of stuff to show. I did buy one skein, but I sort of joked in my last video that when we got that ice storm that I might as well get all this yarn that I came across in there, because the ice storm may affect the shipping day. Like, that was sort of my joke in my head that it was my excuse of like why I should get the yarn, because they may not have a shipment this week, but they didn't have a shipment. And because I went in there when the ice finally started to melt a little bit, I got to go out, and then I walked in there on the shipment day, and they didn't get a shipment in because they didn't have any new stuff in the store anywhere. And so it turned out to be true, even though it was just like a joke in my head that was an excuse. I would have gotten the yarn anyway, but you know what I'm saying. But they didn't get a shipment in, so it's a good thing I got all that yarn. God, I hate how I repeat myself. I said that like 3 times, God. Now I'm in my head too much. But I just thought, because I don't have a whole lot of stuff to show this this week, I thought I'd just sit here and crochet, and I'm gonna have to keep stopping whatever, because I do talk with my hands a lot, and then even just like picking up things, I'm gonna end up I don't know. I thought I would crochet on my mom's blanket, because for one thing, when we got that ice storm, I was thinking I need to finish my mom's blanket, because it felt really good knowing that if we got a whole lot of ice and it knocked out our power or whatever, we do have a lot of crocheted hats and scarves and blankets and all that kind of stuff. But then it started to it made me feel like, well, I should have had my mom's blanket. The whole reason I learned to crochet in the first place is to make her this blanket, and it's still not done after God knows how long. And so I've been really thinking about this blanket lately, just because of what we went through, and I thought I need to finish this blanket. The reason why it's taken me so long to finish this blanket is because I'm using single crochet, and so like if you know anything about the single crochet and like making a blanket with that, it's a beast. And I forget what it's called, but like I know that in the crochet community, like if you finish a single crocheted blanket, it's like this big milestone, because single crochet takes so long. And so I've gotten this far on, well, it's longer than that, but I've gotten pretty far on it, but it's a beast, like working with it. And I wanted to make her like a nice size blanket, and the whole point of making this blanket for her, which I've already told in a previous video, but if you haven't watched my videos, then you may not know this, but I learned to crochet because I wanted to make my mom the blanket that she would never make herself, because she crocheted blankets for practically everybody in the family. And the story about why I'm making her like a solid blue blanket, I could have picked all kinds of pretty colors and like make a really pretty multicolored kind of blanket. Those are the kind of blankets that she would make everybody. She'd keep changing colors and stuff. But I wanted to make her this blue blanket because she used to have this blue blanket, and like even doing this like while I'm talking, I'm thinking like in my head, okay, make sure I'm under both, make sure I'm under the V. I'm gonna get so stumbled in my words, but whatever. I'll just cut around. It doesn't matter, or leave it in, because I don't really care. But the blankets that she used to make were multicolored, and but I wanted to make her this blue one because she used to have this blue blanket, and it wasn't crocheted. It was just like a regular blue blanket. But she loved that blanket, and it was like one of her favorite blankets. And then one year, my grandma came down to visit, and then she said, "Oh, I love this blanket." And of course, my mom being giving and loving and stuff, and it was her mom, said, "Oh, well, you can have it if you love it so much." But then, even though it was her mom, she still kind of regretted it, because it was her favorite blanket. And then after she died, which was years and years later, we never something must have happened to it, or we were going through her stuff, and we never came across it, or we never thought to even look for it, but because it was so many years later and stuff. But but my mom always remembered that blue blanket that she loved, and so I thought maybe I can, because she's made me so many blankets and made me things with the crochet, and I thought if I learn how to crochet, I can make her the blanket that she never would make herself. And then kind of inspired by the blue blanket that she loved so much, and that she gave to her mother. And so that's why I started making this blanket. And I mean, I guess I should have looked more into crochet before I started this blanket, and found a stitch that would crochet. Like I wish I would have come up with my EG stitch before I did this, but because it does crochet up really quick. You can crochet like one stitch. I think is around. I mean, depending on the weight of the yarn, is like 1 inch by 1. See, this is what was gonna keep me from crocheting the entire time because I talk with my hands a lot. I can just say it's like 1 inch by 1 inch, but I have to like do like this, like show you, like you don't know what an inch is. God, it's just my brain. But anyway, so but it's like 1 inch by 1 inch, but to do an inch by an inch with single crochet, I mean, it's like, a couple rows and, a couple stitches across. And so, but I'm using the single crochet, and but the good thing about that is once this gets finished, I do like how the single crochet, the stitches are so close together, and it's going to be extra warm for my mom. Like if I would have had this done, it would have been the perfect thing for my mom to use if the power had gone out. But the stitches are going to be so close together, and so it'll be extra warm, so that's a good thing. But I already have all the yarn for this. I just haven't finished it yet, just because of my scatterbrained ass or whatever going off on all kinds of other things. I can't even get like one sentence out because I'm already on to something else. No, the later words in the sentence. So I'm making her this blanket, and so I thought I'll sit here and while I ramble on camera for like in my head, I thought it. See, I almost like stopped crocheting, like as if I need to like use my hand. So stupid. But what I thought when I sat down to do this video is I thought, oh, this would be like a quick 20-minute video or whatever, and I could just kind of sit here and crochet and and ramble. I was about to say something else. And just like kind of ramble on camera about a couple random things, and it'll only be like 20 minutes. And so watch this to be like the longest video I've ever done, just because of how I talk so damn much. But I do have some like bullet points and some things to talk about, and a couple things to show. But I thought I'll sit here and while I talk about I went into this store and I was looking for this and they didn't have that. Like I can just sit here and crochet and do something instead of just like me talking to the camera. I mean, you might not even be watching. You're probably crocheting too, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, so the first thing I'll talk about is or it's probably the fourth thing I've talked about so far. But we had gotten that ice storm or whatever, and basically shut down the whole town just because of the ice. Luckily, we didn't get the really bad storm because it was the sleet instead of the freezing rain. I mean, it got on the roads and stuff, but it didn't coat the trees and the lines and power lines and all that kind of stuff like freezing rain would. But anyway, so it had gotten all over the roads, and then it started to melt a little bit, and so we got to go out and go to stores and stuff. But it was still a total mess out there, and I guess that's why it affected the Hobby Lobby shipping day. But we went out, and so we went to Goodwill and just to look to see if they had anything, and they did have this. I should have taken a picture of it, but it was like a little fountain. See, like why do I need to show? It was a little fountain, like as if that's gonna like it matters that I don't know why I talk with my hands so much. I just never really noticed before. But so it was like this little fountain that goes on a table or a little shelf or whatever, and it had Santa Claus on it, and so it was like this Christmas fountain, which was adorable and everything. And then the only reason I thought to get it, even though I love Christmas and I say that Christmas is a big part of our family and stuff, the only reason I thought to get it is because like in the corner, it was like Santa Claus or whatever sitting in a chair, and then like on the corner down here was a little cat, and it had a ball of yarn, and like, it was like a tiny little section of like this big fountain, and so it didn't really matter. But like that was the only reason I was gonna get it, just because of that tiny little cat with a ball of yarn. But they had $8 on it, and I thought, I'm not gonna spend $8 on that damn thing just for that tiny little cat down there. I mean, it was adorable and Christmas related, but it wasn't worth the $8, and I don't even know if it worked or whatever. I mean, I wish I could have like bought it and like broken that little piece off, but then it would have been stupid to do that. But it was a really pretty little fountain, but I didn't get it, even though I did have that cat on it with the ball of yarn. Because I do like to buy anytime I see anything, not just at Hobby Lobby, anywhere else with something yarn related on it. I usually try to get it just because of me being obsessed with obsessed with God, obsessed with crochet and yarn and all that kind of stuff. So while I was out, I went to Hobby Lobby and they didn't have anything. It was before their shipment day. It was just like a random day. So they didn't have anything that day. And then I went to Michael's and they didn't have anything either. Well, that's nothing new, but they didn't have anything. And then I did go to Dollar General. I was still looking for those 7 dwarfs, and but they still didn't have. I mean, it's weird how that whole section where the spring stuff is all stocked up, except for that one gap there on the shelf. And so they just haven't gotten the 7 dwarfs thing in. And then I went to Ollie's, and I did get a couple things from Ollie's, so I'll stop what I'm doing here in a second. But I went to Ollie's because I was looking for that Red Heart Super Easy yarn. And sort of speaking of that, I feel like the thing that I'm working on that I'm still, I mean, it's turning out okay, and it might be, it's a wearable, and it just feels like it might be a little too big, or I don't know. I'm using the ring spun, but I'm thinking that if the Red Heart Super Easy, because it's the same weight as that ring spun, if the Red Heart Super Easy feels as good or better than the ring spun, I may end up using the ring spun if they have the Red Heart Super Easy if they have the right colors, because using that ring spun for that thing that I'm working on, I don't even want to say it because I'm just afraid that I might get your hopes up thinking, oh, you finally made one of those, and then it ends up looking really stupid. But I'm making something, and with the ring spun, I only had like a couple skeins of the black, and the black isn't even like solid black. It has like some gray in it. See, like some gray in it. But I only had a couple skeins of the black, and I wish I would have had enough of the black. But the ring spun is the yarn that I got from Michael's when they were clearancing it all out, and so I just got all they had, and they didn't have like a whole lot of the black. And so if they have some black of that Red Heart Super Easy, and I mean it is the same weight. I mean I don't know how it's going to feel because it's Red Heart, so it may be a little rough. But if they have some of the black, I might get some of that for the thing I'm making. I don't even want to say it. But I knew that they were going to get in that Red Heart Super Easy because I saw their Facebook post about it, and you can't really go by the picture as far as like the colors that they get in, because it varies by store and stuff. But so I don't know what colors they're going to get. Watch, they're going to get like some really off the wall colors, or like some really crappy ones, and earth tones and all that kind of stuff. And then if they even get any at all, because my Ollie's just sometimes they get a whole bunch of yarn and sometimes they don't. It's like there's an Ollie's where my Joanne used to be. It's out of town. I have to drive there like 30 minutes just to get there. I haven't been there since Joanne closed, and I'm almost kind of not afraid, but like I'm sort of leery of going down there again, because I don't even want to see like where Joanne used to be, because I really loved going into Joanne in the few handful of times I went in there, and I hate to even like see that empty. I hope that there's at least something there. It's probably going to be like some vape shop or some crap, but hopefully there's at least something there, and it'll take away the memory of like seeing the Joanne thing, because it's just going to be so depressing like going down there and then seeing it gone. But whatever, I just haven't been down there since. But they do have an Ollie's down there, and that Ollie's, I talked about this in previous videos, but I love the 10th Kingdom. It's this mini-series that was on NBC in the year 2000. And I'd gotten some Bluebell yarn. It was the Red Heart yarn in the colorway Bluebell. And it's kind of fitting that it was called Bluebell, because there was a character in the 10th Kingdom named Bluebell, one of the trolls. And so I made these 10th Kingdom bookmarks and stuff, and with the Bluebell, and to honor the anniversary of the 10th Kingdom. Because I'm part of the fandom, the very small but very hardcore fandom of the 10th Kingdom. And so I made these really cool bookmarks and stuff, and I showed them in previous videos and all that. And the tassels have to like sort of honor the different storylines in the 10th Kingdom and all that. It's just the whole thing. But when I went down to that Ollie's there, where in that town where my Joanne was, they must have had like dozens and dozens of those Bluebell skeins. I mean, my Ollie's had just a couple of them, and so I got a couple. But when I went down there, like it was way after I'd made the bookmarks, so I didn't need any more of the Bluebell. But when I went down to that Ollie's there, I mean, they had, it was like one of those, like if you've ever been into Michael's and they have those big cardboard square things. Like I showed in a previous video, those big cardboard things that had the big twist in it before they put in the freestanding freestanding shelf, like one of those big, it reminds you of those things you'd have to dig through at Walmart that were full of DVDs. But it's like this big cardboard thing, like this square box, and it's like really, really deep. And my ollies had one of those sitting in there, and it was like piled full, like all the way down to the bottom with that bluebell yarn. So I don't know why they got that many skeins of bluebell yarn in, but I know that ollies, it really depends on the store. Some ollies get, you know, a bunch of something, and then, you know, a little bit of something else, and maybe they don't get this in. And then the next ollies, they'll get like a little bit of everything, or the next ollies won't get anything. So I guess it just really depends on the store. But I keep going in my ollies just in case they get the Red Heart Super Easy yarn, because I want to see what it's like, and I want to see what colors they have, so that I can, because if the thing that I'm making turns out right, I have like I've been writing down how many stitches across and the pattern and all that. I mean, it's not like a pattern, it's just kind of like a really easy thing that I'm piecing together. But I've been writing it down because I'm hoping that the Red Heart Super Easy yarn will they'll at least have some enough of one color. I mean, I doubt that they're going to have a lot of black, because you know, the ones that end up in stores are usually like the kind of off-the-wall colors, like the random kind of browns and oranges, or you know, colors like that. But if they have like a lot of black or gray or something like that, some kind of gray mix, I should have looked into like what kind of a Red Heart Super Easy colors they have. I think there's some variegated ones too, but if they have one that's kind of like a black and gray mix or something, it kind of reminds me of that ring spun, I may get like every single one of them. And it's not going to take that many skeins, because I think the specs are about the same too, like the amount of yarn in one of those skeins. So but I do want to get that. And but if the thing I'm making turns out, I want to use the Red Heart Super Easy if it is a nice yarn. But I've never felt it in person before. But I was in Ollie's, and what made me kind of hopeful is they put in one of those freestanding shelves back there, because like I don't know why, like in my store, like I've seen, like how many thoughts I started like the thought like 5 times. Let me just start it over again. I don't know why in my store, even though there have been times where they got in so much yarn that they had like a freestanding shelf in the front of the store, but in my store, if they get any, I intentionally said my store instead of my, like in my previous videos, in my store, stupid. And I'm from the South, so if I say my, in my store in the back, they had a bunch of yarn. I don't know why they keep putting it like in the back corner, like it's right off of where they have the rugs and all that kind of stuff, like the big ones that are standing up, and like the big rolls of carpet. It's like way back there. You go back there, and then it's like, oh, there's a shelf back here, and like way deep in the corner with some yarn on it. And so and it's most of that like loop yarn that I used to for decoration for my niece's tower. They still have all that, and they still have those things that look like I think it's Red Heart too. Those things that they're kind of shaped like this, like a toilet seat or something. It's all in like the gray, like a light gray, but that kind of, I forget what it's called, but it was those more unique looking skeins or whatever that they kind of look like the shape of a toilet seat, like those. They haven't sold those yet, but so they have that shelf back there, but then they put a freestanding shelf sort of away from the corner. There's like that corner shelf back in there, and then there's like some shelves with some like shoes and stuff on it, and then there's like a big gap there, and then there's like a freestanding shelf. I'm hoping that is going to be filled up with yarn or whatever. It's weird. I walked into my Ollie's, and I sort of felt like, because the reason why I love Ollie's so much is because it reminds me of the way Big Lots used to be. Like if you remember Big Lots, I don't even think, or Big Lots does exist now, doesn't it? I think it's like in just a couple towns, and they tried to rebrand it or bring it back. But we haven't had a Big Lots in our town for a year or two. But when they all closed down, but I used to love going into Big Lots when I was a kid, and then it just seemed like years went on, and then Big Lots went from being like the store that kind of junky, but it was like fun to dig through, like all the stuff on the shelves, and you never knew what you would come across in Big Lots, because it was just like a really fun store. And then I mean it kind of like Ollie's is now, and they're sort of unapologetically like, our store may not be perfect looking, but you might find some good stuff cheap at Ollie's. I swear they're not sponsoring this video. I've said that like 2 or 3 times in my videos, but you're in there and those announcements that that voice keeps saying, good stuff cheap, all that. You can find some good stuff cheap in there. There is some expensive stuff in there, even though it's discounted. But the way Ollie's is, it kind of reminds me of the way Big Lots was, because like in my childhood, because you never know what you're going to find in there, and you do kind of have to look really good, and you may come across like something really nice in Ollie's. But then Big Lots, when it started to change, it was like you walked into Big Lots and you thought, oh, am I in like a furniture store? Big Lots used to be where you'd walk in and you never knew what you'd find, and there'd be all kinds of like random things on shelves and stuff, and it would kind of be grouped together, but then it would just be like random stuff. And kind of like you could tell it was stuff that ended up there. But then when we started to walk into Big Lots, and then there's like 18 couches right there, and like people that went into big Lots when I was a kid, you would go into Big Lots and you wouldn't think, oh, I'm going to go in here and spend $1,899 on a sofa. You know what I'm saying? That's not what Big Lots was. It was always like the store that you could find all kinds of, like you go through the food aisle and there'd be all kinds of random stuff, and you think, oh, this in a jar, I've never even seen this before. I've never even heard of this before. You just never knew what you would find in there, and it was kind of fun. And like you would think, oh, well, I've never heard of these crackers before. They're avocado flavored with pepper on it or like whatever. But they may be good, and you never saw them anywhere else in any of the other grocery stores, because it was something that would end up there. Like all the stuff would end up at Big Lots, and because it didn't sell very well at other places, or like whatever, or some store closed down and they had an overstock and end up at Big Lots. And so that was the fun of going into Big Lots. But you never wanted to go into Big Lots, and then get a freaking sofa for $1,900, or like a bed, or I don't know. I mean, they may have been good sofas and all that kind of stuff, but it felt like, is this Big Lots, or is this some kind of furniture store? And so I felt like that was the beginning of the end for Big Lots, because I mean we barely went in there anymore, because it just it was being overtaken by all this furniture that they had in there. But anyway, but that's why I loved Ollie's so much, because when it started out, and when it first came here, it kind of reminded me of the appeal of Big Lots when I was growing up. And so, because you never knew what you'd find in there, and it was kind of junky, and like there's little holes, or not holes, they're kind of like potholes or whatever, like in the floor of Ollie's. But it doesn't matter, because there's all kinds of good deals in there that you can find, and so you just kind of roll over them and stuff, and your cart kind of goes like this or whatever. But like, and then there's like some stuff in the way, and you kind of just walk around it, and but that was the fun of going into Ollie's. But then I walked into Ollie's, and then I noticed that they put some sofas in the front. And it's in my Ollie's, and probably every other Ollie's, but in my Ollie's, past that maze that they put up there, which is a pain in the ass. Like that big maze, we have to walk all the way down to that wall and then all the way back up just to go to the register. I know that they're starting to do that in stores, so that you'll be tempted to buy all that food and all the little quick stuff, so that when you go through there, you're standing there like waiting to be checked out, and then you think, oh, they have some chip clips, and I'm sure I could use like a clothespin, but maybe I'll just get these chip clips like that you don't even need, but you think it's like all the impulse buy crap. But it looks like a maze in the front of the store. But anyway, like off of that maze, they usually have this, like it's like the middle of the store, and that's where they put like around the holidays, they have all the toys and stuff for the kids, where you can buy stuff for Christmas, and or like like when they get all the garden stuff in the spring, that's where they put all those like giant vases and stuff like that, all the gardening things. Just like the middle area where they when they get a whole bunch of something, they put it there right in the middle, and right there they couldn't put anything there because it's just like sofas. I thought, like, why the hell are they getting sofas in? And it's not like, oh, Ollie's got these sofas in and these are only $100. No, they're like hundreds of dollars, and I'm just thinking, I'm really worried that they're going to end up like Big Lots, and I don't want that to happen, because I do love going to Ollie's. I mean, I don't find something every single time I go in there, but it's fun looking through there and just sort of feeling like you never know what you're gonna find. You go down different aisles and stuff, and and they have so many nice books in there. Like I said, I bet they have more books in my local Ollie's than they have in my local bookstore. It's just like it's a tiny little bookstore, but they have such a big selection of books in my Ollie's, and they have like the posters, and I'm gonna get to that. They have this really nice section of posters, and like the ones I've shown in previous videos. I've gotten some Beatles posters and some Super Nintendo posters, and Harry Potter, and they're starting to get like posters in, and I really do love Ollie's, and so when I saw those couches in there, I thought, damn it, I hope they're not going to end up like Big Lots, where that they're getting in like, you know, recliners and sofas and like really expensive furniture and stuff, because people that go into Ollie's, the same people that go into Ollie's are the same people that went into Big Lots and probably stopped going to Big Lots because of that stopped going to Big Lots because they turned into a freaking furniture store with a couple new knickknacks, you know, and other shelves. But the people that, you know, went there are that's the reason why they started to go to Ollie's. And then if they start walking in there and they think, oh, they don't have any new stuff except for these sofas, it's just gonna, you know, start to make Ollie's, you know, I don't know. I'm hoping that they won't, but hopefully they just got an overstock somewhere. I don't know where the sofas came from, and then once they sell the sofas out, they won't get any more like furniture in. They'll just, you know, fill it with other stuff, and they just happen to come across, you know, some buyout somewhere of like sofas, and they just thought, well, we'll sell some sofas, and then that'll take up some space, you know, after, because like, you know, it was after Christmas, and maybe they thought, oh well, now that all the toys are gone because, you know, people bought them for Christmas, then we'll have this like big section there. We could just put a bunch of sofas there until we get like our next buyout, and then once they sell the sofas, if they even do, then they'll fill it with, you know, the normal stuff that they would, like spring stuff or like whatever. I don't know. I'm trying to be hopeful, but whatever. So I went into Ollie's and looking for that, and then they had that freestanding shelf back there. So I'm hoping that that's where some of the Red Heart Super Easy yarn is going to go. But I mean, I feel like they may have it already, because and this is another reason why I'm sort of worried about Ollie's, is because they have like a bunch of boxes in the back, like they're piled up, like where the rugs are that are flat, like the area rugs, not like where the carpet is, like where the area rugs are. And then there's like the section where they have like a little bit of furniture, but like in between that, there's just all these boxes just piled up and piled up and piled, and they're not. I mean, I'm sure that they're getting put on the shelves, but I'm just wondering, like, why are those boxes still back there and nobody's like opening them up and putting them on the shelves and stuff? I don't know. Like, get rid of those sofas, and then you'd have plenty of room to open all those boxes. But I mean, they may have gotten the Red Heart Super Easy yarn in, you know, weeks ago, but they have all those boxes there. And what kind of worries me about that, like, you know, worried about them because of the furniture, it kind of makes me worried because of what happened at Big Lots. I'm worried about, like, because some of my Dollar Generals around here had to close down for a couple weeks because they were starting to get so much stuff in, and they had limited employees. Maybe that's a problem why they have limited employees at my Ollie's or something. But they had to shut down for a couple weeks because they were getting so much stock in, and they didn't have room in the back. They were it was overtaking the aisles, and they had to shut, like the city or whatever had to shut them down because of all the stuff in the aisles, and that the employees had to, you know, open it all up and put it on the shelves. And so I'm worried, like, you know, what if, I mean, they have a lot more room in Ollie's than they do in like a Dollar General, but I'm just thinking, like, I don't know, just like already concerned about the whole furniture thing. Now I'm concerned, like, why are the boxes just piling up and not being opened up and put on the shelves as quick as they should be? I'm just, you know, worried about, like, why do I have to always step around all these boxes that are still here in this section? And like, I don't know. I hope that Ollie's doesn't nothing happens to my Ollie's, because I do love going there, but they do have a lot of boxes. But anyway, so I was in Ollie's, and I went there looking in their posters, and I'll stop crocheting here for a second just to show this. They had these posters, and I'd gotten these on 2 separate trips, but I went to Ollie's, and they had in the posters, they have different kinds of posters. They have the cardboard posters that are on the one that I got in the Super Nintendo in one of my previous videos. They have the cardboard posters that have they're not cardboard, but they have like a piece of cardboard in it, because it's the kind that would normally be rolled up, but it's like a full-size poster. They have those, and then they have some that are like these big canvas print posters that are like $18 or whatever. Really nice posters. I've already shown some of those in previous videos. And then they have some that are it feels like like a textured, really hard print, like the Super Nintendo poster that I got to replace the really big one. And it's framed and everything. And so they had these posters, and so I went in there looking, and I got this one from my mom. This the Beatles. And so I like bang my chin. So it's this Beatles poster, and these are $10. It's really nice. It's really nice and sturdy, and it's framed and everything. And so I got this. When I was showing my mom, I said, "Oh, they only had a poster that had a bunch of like hippies on it." And then I turned around, then she like freaked out because she loves the Beatles and stuff. And so I got her that one. And then the next time I went in there, I said, "Oh, they only had another hippie poster," and it was a picture of John Lennon, doing the peace sign at the Statue of Liberty. And so this one was $10 too. So this will go for my with my mom's Beatles stuff. But they do have really nice posters in there, and they're keeping it really stocked up too. They have a lot of superhero posters, like Spider-Man, and like some of them are comic book themed, and some of them are like the movie versions of the comic book characters themed. And so I mean they have some really nice posters and stuff. But those are the only ones that I got in those Beatles ones from my mom. But when I was in there and I was getting one of those posters, I had that 15% off coupon that they had sent me through the mail, because I'm an Ollie's member, and they sent me this 15% off coupon, and I could have used it for that poster and gotten 15% off, but I was thinking it's a 15% off your total purchase coupon, and I thought this is the only thing that I'm getting. It's just like a $10 poster, and I thought I didn't want to waste the coupon on like a $10 purchase when I'm waiting for that Red Heart Super Easy yarn to come in, and like that 15% off is going to mean a lot more if like I go in there and I spend like $50 on a bunch of yarn, and that 15% off is going to be a really good deal. And so because it's probably going to be a good deal anyway just to get that yarn if it's nice, and then to have a 15% off coupon. So I thought, and it expired around Valentine's Day, and it was like the beginning of February. It's February as I'm filming this. You're probably thinking, God, it's like August. What are you talking about? But Valentine's Day for. But I had the coupon they had sent me, and it expired around Valentine's Day, so I knew that I had a little while to use it, and so I didn't use the 15% off coupon because I wanted to save it for the yarn when they got it in. But so I got those posters for my mom and Ollie's, and then I went to Hobby Lobby again. These are all like random days and stuff. I mean it's not like I went to Hobby Lobby like 8 times and then I went to Ollie's 4 times in one day. I'm just like I wrote some bullet points out, and it's all random days. But I went to Hobby Lobby again, and they still didn't have a shipment day. It was like the day after the shipment day, and so obviously the ice affected the shipment, because I know that like we really lucked out, even though we did get a whole lot of ice and it got all over the roads and stuff, and it was still out there when we were out driving around and stuff. But I know that like to the west of us, because I think that that storm, it was the first time in our country's history that like I think it was like 40-some states got a winter storm warning at the same time, because it was like such a big storm or whatever. I mean, it was like an historic event, and so I bet that the shipment was affected, because I don't know where the warehouses are. That's the next thing I need to figure out. Not that I'm ever going to travel to the warehouse. I mean, I don't know where their warehouses are, but maybe that's why they didn't get a shipment in. So I kept checking Hobby Lobby, and they just didn't get any yarn in. And then I went to Goodwill, and I got a couple things at Goodwill, some puzzles. One of the puzzles is, or I'll show the Friends one first, because I want to save the yarn one, related one for last. But they had a Friends poster. I mean, a Friends, it's going to be a poster once I put this together. But I had this Friends puzzle, and it's really cool. And what's cool about it also is some of the pieces are... they call it Friends-shaped puzzle pieces. There are some pieces in here that are shaped kind of like more abstract than this, but that have like a unique shape that kind of look like a little like the picture frame on the door, and like the turkey that Monica put on her head, and a guitar like Phoebe plays, and the taxi cab, and the couch from Central Park. And I mean it's really cool how there are some like really unique shaped pieces, but it's this Friends puzzle. And then they had a puzzle that it's not in the box anymore because I'm putting it together, but this puzzle with cats on it and some balls of yarn, and it's knitting related. It's called Knitting Kittens, but and I don't really know how to knit, and I may pick it up in the future, but I got it just because it has balls of yarn and knitting on it. But it's this adorable puzzle. God, it's 1,000 pieces, and when I first bought it, I was thinking, because sometimes you have to worry about like an open puzzle in Goodwill, whether all the pieces are there, because like I was thinking, God, my luck, I'm gonna get this really adorable puzzle, and then did I say poster? Or, it doesn't matter. Now I'm like wondering, like, did I say poster again? So I got this adorable puzzle, and you have to kind of worry when you get the puzzles at Goodwill, because sometimes the pieces may not all be there. And I didn't want to stand in the store and actually count all the pieces in the store, but I got it home and I took the time to like count every single piece. And the bad thing about that is sometimes it's sort of an estimate, but you know, most of the time if it says like 1,000 pieces, it's usually 1,000 pieces. But there are some times where it's kind of like, maybe it might be 100 or 1,008 pieces, but they'll say like a 1,000-piece puzzle, or you know, something like that. But I wanted to count the pieces just in case, and then I counted them. I took the time to actually count every piece, and there was 999 pieces in it. And I thought, oh God. I thought I finally get this really adorable puzzle, and I'm actually gonna have the intention to sit down and work like a really big puzzle, and then I count the pieces and it feels like there's one missing, and I mean I could have come up with something creative to like when I put it together. If there's like a piece missing, I can come up with something creative to put there, like you know, crochet a little puzzle piece to you know put there, and I don't know, do something kind of funny there. But at the same time, I was thinking I didn't want to work a puzzle like this 1,000 pieces with one of the pieces missing. Then I thought I need to just take my time and count all the pieces again, and luckily it was 1,000 pieces. I thought, oh God, because that would have been so devastating to get like really far in this and think like, where the hell is the other piece? And then it'd be gone, and I would have thought, well, of course it's gone because I bought this at Goodwill, but whatever. And this was $3.99. I forget how much that difference was because I took the sticker off of it, but it's a really adorable puzzle. And so whenever I get it done, I'm gonna do the like that other puzzle that I need to hang up in this room when I reassess this room and start to decorate it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my hot glue gun. This is a massive puzzle. My mom and I have already put the outside of the puzzle together, and we're already starting to work on the other pieces. But what I did with that other puzzle that I got at Goodwill is I used a hot glue gun. It's going to take a lot of hot glue to put this together. I know they can get like a glue, like the puzzle glue and all that kind of stuff, but I thought I have plenty of hot glue sticks, and I can get some hot glue sticks and do that, and then I can actually like pick it up and I'm going to put like a piece of cardboard or something on the back probably, but I do want to hang that puzzle up in here. But it's coming along really nice, and it's fun. It's frustrating though, but just the way a puzzle is, but it's going to be really nice and worth it because it's just an adorable puzzle. I couldn't believe I got that at Goodwill. So we got those puzzles and all that kind of stuff. And then a couple days later, they said that we were supposed to get a whole bunch of snow. And it wasn't supposed to be like the heavy wet snow, or there wasn't any kind of concern about it turning into ice or anything. But we were supposed to get some snow, and like it's weird for us to get like a bunch of ice and a bunch of snow and get like a whole lot of winter weather, because you know we rarely get it. We may get some like every year, but it's never like a big event. And so to go from like all that ice and stuff to there's another forecast for a bunch of snow, it was just kind of like weird because we hardly ever get that. But they said that it was just supposed to be like regular kind of powdery snow. It wasn't supposed to be like heavy wet snow, so I wasn't really that concerned about it because we're not used to driving on like icy roads and stuff, and so if we could get through that ice storm, and how it was just all over the roads, and especially like the secondary roads. I mean, we were driving around and I thought, God, that road hasn't even had a plow go down it. It was weird. I just thought if we can get through all that ice and stuff on the roads, we can deal with the snow. And then I also thought like if it snows and we can't get to the grocery store for a couple of days, like we have plenty of food, because you know I stocked up when we were supposed to get that ice storm, and I had all those canned foods and stuff just in case the power had gone out. And I thought, you know, if we can't get out for a couple of days and go to the grocery store, well, we can just sit around and eat our cans of peas and canned chicken and you know all that kind of stuff, because I had plenty of food that I had stocked up on. But whatever. And so we were supposed to get that snow, and so we did get the snow. We just kind of sat around and worked on the puzzle and stuff, and watched TV together, and it just I've had a fun time because it wasn't as stressful this time. And we do love the snow when it's not a stressful kind of thing. And so it was really pretty, like watching it come down and everything. And we got ended up getting like 6 to 8 inches of snow. I mean, there's a lot of snow, like for us. I mean, we've gotten a lot more in the past, but like it was always like a big event. It wasn't like a regular thing. And so like 6 to 8 inches is a lot for us. And so what I did was like it was such powdery snow, and I didn't want the snow to get in the driveway and like coat it the way that ice did. And so what I did was, as it was coming down, I would go out there, and it was so powdery that I did have my shovel, but like we have a gravel driveway, and you can't really shovel that without digging into the gravel. And so what I did was I took my broom out there because I thought it's such powdery snow. I bet the broom would get it. And I was literally like sweeping my freaking driveway. Like it was just like blowing the snow. So I did it a couple of times, like because it kind of snowed into the night. So I went and I'm up all night most of the time. And so I went out there, and I was out there just like sweeping my driveway and getting the snow out of there. And it got it practically completely clear. I mean, I got down to where the ice was still there from the ice storm, but it was a lot easier to deal with this snow event than it was that ice storm or whatever. But if I can like sweep it with a broom, I did have to shovel it in certain areas where it was like was really deep and stuff. But we did get a lot of snow, and at least this was the kind of enjoyable snow. But it's still kind of out there, and we're already getting kind of sick of it, just because of like when they use the plow, and then they plow out those big like you go into the grocery store parking lot, and there's like those big mounds, like these big icebergs, and that take forever to melt. It's like that. There's like areas like that like all through town and stuff. But we did enjoy the snow when it first came down, and for a little while afterwards and all that kind of stuff. It was a pain getting out there and shoveling it and sweeping it and all that kind of stuff. But it was also kind of fun too. Me out there with a freaking broom, just like sweeping. I felt like sort of embarrassed. Not that the neighbors were probably looking out and thinking, what the hell is he using a broom for? But whatever. And so I was like, sweeping the driveway. Oh, and then what was weird was I was out there, and our driveway was completely clear. And then the next morning I got up, and of course at the very end of the driveway, it's always going to be really messed up and piled up there because of like when the snowplow goes. The end of the driveway always looks really messed up because when the snowplow goes through, it just pushes all the snow that's on the road like in the ditches and at the end of people's driveways and stuff. And it's always like really hard. It always gets really hard, I guess, because of the salt that they put on the roads. And so I expected to have to go down there and after I cleared the driveway that night. I expected once the snowplows go through a couple times, I'm gonna have to go back down there in the morning and get that slush or whatever out of the in the driveway. But I went out there, and there was this big like black thing at the bottom of my driveway. I like went out there, and like my driveway was the only one that was clear. Everybody else, all the neighbors, theirs was full and stuff, and of course the road was getting down to the road again. But then I looked down there and I thought, what the hell is this like black thing at the end of the driveway? It was too big to be like the slush. I mean, it was all mixed in with the slush, but it was just like this big black thing. I didn't know what it was. And so I was like, digging out the slush and moving that at the end of the driveway. It was like this big, long, like really thick piece of rubber. I guess it was rubber or some kind of like material like that. And I thought, like, what the hell is this? Like, where did this come from? I thought, the cynical person in me thought, like, did somebody, when they were driving around, think, oh, look, this person, their driveway is completely clear unlike everybody else's. I'm just going to, take this thing out of the back of my truck and throw it in their driveway just to, piss them off because, their driveway is clear unlike everybody else's. That's what the joke in my head was. But no, what it was, I looked up, I thought, is this something that went on the snowplow? And my mom looked at it and she said, that does look like the thing that's on the snowplow. And so, like, they have like that thing in the front of the snowplow, and then on the bottom of the snowplows, they have like this big piece of like rubber. I guess it just goes along the very bottom of the blade of the snowplow, like when they're pushing it through. And so somehow it fell off, and like of all the places for it to fall off in this town, it falls off in my driveway, right, like in my clear driveway, like right down in there at the end, like in all the slush. And so I had this like a big piece of rubber or whatever at the bottom of my driveway. I had to move that out of the way, but I thought, God, of all the places for that to fall off. So the snow lasted for a while. I mean, it's still out there, those big icebergs and stuff. But we did get a lot of snow, and it lasted for a while. But the roads are getting clear again and everything, and we're starting to go out. And like I said, I've already been to Hobby Lobby again, and they just haven't gotten a shipment in, and it's been days since the shipment day. So I don't know. I'm hoping that it's going to be where they're just going to get it like the next shipment day, and it's not going to be like a big delay. But I did notice when I was in Hobby Lobby that their shelves are starting to look kind of bare looking, just because of not getting a shipment in. And what's funny is I went to Michael's, and they of course their shelves look the same way, but it's not because they didn't get a shipment in. It's just because that's the way their shelves look, the way they looked before the storm. So people that go into Michael's and don't know that they hardly have any yarn in the store, they would go in there and they would think, oh wow, that their shipment must have been delayed too, just like Hobby Lobby. No, their shelves look exactly the same they did before the storm or whatever. But Hobby Lobby, it's weird for Hobby Lobby's shelves to look that bare. They're usually really good about keeping their shelves stocked up and stuff, and so it's kind of weird looking at their shelves and thinking, wow, there's a lot of gaps here. What I'm hoping, and this is stupid, but what I'm hoping is they'll have like a double shipment, because they missed out on that one shipment. They're not going to do this, but what I'm hoping is they're going to have like a double shipment, and maybe they'll have like twice as much clearance yarn that week whenever they get the yarn in. But I don't know. That would be really nice. But they just haven't had a shipment since that ice storm or whatever, and then the snow on top of it. I thought, God, it's going to be a long time before they get any shipment in and clearance yarn. But I just haven't gotten any yarn in there for a while. It's just weird for me to not get any clearance yarn in there for a couple weeks, and for them to not get any yarn in there at all. But I did buy one skein of yarn in there, and this is probably going to shock you, but I actually got one skein full price in Hobby Lobby. Or was it 30% off week? Yeah, right, I'm going to spend full price on a skein of yarn. But I did get a skein of yarn in there. It's the green that I keep talking about, the 6 colors. I've moved them off of my shelf up here, but they used to be up here. Because I moved them because I wanted to make sure I got the colorways right. But the 6 colors that I made the 6 color bookmark with, and the 6 colors have some kind of significance to something creative that's going to be coming in the future from me. It's not crochet related, but or I am going to make the bookmarks, but the 6 colors have to do with something else creative that I'm not going to talk about. But that's why I keep talking about them in sort of this cryptic way. But anyway, so I wanted to I hated that I moved they used to be here, and I used to have the 6 colors in the shot of my videos the whole time. Then I moved these here, and I thought, oh, you can't see those 6 colors anymore. And so what I thought I would do is I thought I would make these panels and have like the 6 colors and make some panels to go on here, because I thought that would be kind of cool to like make these panels here on like all the white shelves, and then maybe even here on this brown shelf here, this one right here, this gap right here. I think it would be kind of cool to like do that, and then have those 6 colors in my on my wall in the background. But I didn't want to use the skeins I already had, because I wanted to use those skeins for the bookmarks, because I want to make a whole bunch of those bookmarks. And like I was thinking, do I have to go to Hobby Lobby and buy like 6 skeins of yarn full price? Of course, they would be the 30% off, because I'd wait for the 30% off week. But I thought, am I gonna have to buy these like brand new, like full price? And so I was thinking, I wonder if I have like how many of those I have like duplicates of that I've gotten on clearance. And it was funny. I went through my whole stash and like all the bags I haven't put away and everything, and I had all 6 colors except for one. And so like that I gotten just like random in random clearance and stuff. And so I had all 6 of them except for this the green. And so this is just like I love this yarn in the color key lime. So that's the green shade. So I had to buy this because I thought they're not going to have any clearance yarn this week. So I thought I'll at least buy this one skein, and it was full price. Of course, it was 30% off, but still, it wasn't a clearance skein. But so it was $3.50. The price of almost 3 skeins of clearance yarn. But I did buy this, and so I'm gonna take those colors and make the little panels and try to attach them on the wall, like when I reassess this room and decorate it, all that kind of stuff. That'll be like a whole series of videos in the future. But I got that for that. But it was just funny that I was going through my yarn and I thought, okay, do I have the orange? There's an orange over there. Is that the same orange? And that one isn't. But oh, there's the orange. And then I went through it, and then there was the red, and then the gray, and then I didn't have the green. I do have a lot of like limelight color, but it's not the same shade of green that I wanted to use for that. It's just more of a vibrant green, that limelight. So I did have to get the green, and I went through and I found the blue, and then I found the gold. So I found all 6 colors except for the green, so I had to buy this. But so I did buy a skein of yarn. It's just full price. Got $3.71 for that skein of yarn. God, that's just insane. No, just because I'm so damn cheap. I'm so used to $1.24 for those skeins, but I didn't buy that. And then when I went in there to get that skein, they did have a couple skeins of yarn on their cutting table. So I don't know if they're gonna clearance those or not. They weren't ones that I would particularly want. There was like one that was kind of a plush yarn, and then one that was kind of like it looked like I didn't like linger around and actually like stare at it, but from far away it looked not like through a shelf like I look. No, but from far away it looked like a cozy occasion kind of yarn. But there was a couple skeins in there. I thought maybe they got those that they were going to clearance whenever they did get the shipment. I don't know, but one of them was kind of like an ivory color, just like a generic skein, and then maybe a blue one, I think. But they were just kind of like solid colors. It wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna have to keep coming every single, like, go around all the icebergs and stuff like the Titanic and go to Hobby Lobby, look for to see if they clearance these skeins. I have no sense of urgency to look for those skeins, but they did have some there. So that kind of made me think maybe they know that a shipment is coming soon or something. I don't know, but they did have those skeins there, so hopefully they'll get another shipment in. Oh, and then I went to Walmart because my mom's watch came, the watch I told you about in one of my other videos. I bought her this pretty purple watch from Amazon, and it got delivered next door, all that kind of stuff. And the watch band on it is kind of like that silicone stuff. It kind of reminds you of like some of the bakeware that is made out of silicone. And so her watch band was that kind of material. I mean, she loves it and everything, but it wasn't even a week into her wearing it, the watch band broke. And I thought, I mean, it's not like I spent, $40 on a freaking watch. It was a cheap watch, but at the same time, I thought the watch band should have lasted longer than that. I mean, the watch itself, like the face of the watch, is really gorgeous, and the numbers are nice and big, and it's really pretty and purple, and it's a really nice watch. But the watch band was just a piece of crap. And so I thought, am I gonna have to order another watch band? Because I wasn't gonna take it back and get another one because it would be the same kind of material, and the watch band would break. And my mom loved the watch because you can see the numbers really easily, and it's really pretty and purple. And so she loved the watch. So I thought, like, maybe I can get her another watch band. And so I thought, it's stupid that I'm gonna have to get her another watch band. And so I went on Amazon. I was looking around, and they did have some on Amazon and stuff. But I thought, because I wanted her to have the watch band right now, and I didn't know how long, because I'm a Prime member or whatever, but I didn't know if the snow and all that stuff would affect even the shipping from Amazon. And so I thought I can go out and maybe Walmart has some. I even looked at some other. I went to Dollar General. Oh no, we don't sell that kind of stuff. Or Family Dollar, and we don't sell that kind of stuff either. So I thought, like, I can go to the big Walmart and look and see if they have any watch bands. They didn't have any freaking watch bands. And I thought, am I gonna have to buy like a? I knew that I was gonna get it on Amazon eventually, but I just thought, am I gonna have to like buy a cheap watch here just to get the watch band off of it? And because they didn't have any like just standalone watch bands. I even looked in the back where they had those. What was it, Apple Watches, iWatches, or whatever the hell it's called. I thought, do they have some of those? Because I know that my niece and my sister-in-law have those Apple Watches or those iWatches or whatever the hell they're called, and they have some really pretty bands on them and stuff. And I thought maybe they have some in the back in the electronics section where they have those watches. They didn't have any back there either. I thought, I mean, it's weird. I walked through that entire store. I didn't find any watch bands anywhere. And like the section where they have the jewelry and the watch bands and all that kind of stuff, it used to be like really stocked up, and they used to have like somebody there like with the register and everything. And now, I mean, there's a register there, but there's never anybody there. And so they just kind of scaled that section down, I guess. But they don't have any just like packs of like plain watch bands. And so it just kind of sucked. And so I knew that I'd have to end up buying them on Amazon anyway. But I bought her some on Amazon. They had a 3-pack, and one of them was, because I wanted to get her a nice pretty purple one, and it was kind of cheaper to get her the 3-pack where one was purple that would match her watch perfectly, and then there was like a gray and a black one. They're kind of like it's not made out of silicone, it's kind of like those stretchy kind. So once I put it on her watch, she can just kind of stretch it around her wrist, and she doesn't have to worry about like trying to put it on and all that kind of stuff, and worry about it ripping the silicone or whatever. It's just like a basic stretchy watch band. But I thought, you always have to end up buying stuff on Amazon and stuff, but that's just how everything is. But I thought, I remember seeing watch bands, like plain watch bands in Walmart years ago, but they just don't sell them anymore, so that sucks. So while I was there at Walmart looking for the watch band, I did look in the yarn section, and the only thing new that they had was those, I forget what they're called, and I tried to take a picture of my stupid phone, but for some reason, I'm still not used to using a freaking cell phone. I turn on the camera, and sometimes I think, oh, I just took a video, but then I look and, oh, it was on like the picture setting or whatever, and then sometimes I feel like I took a picture, and then I look later and it's blurry, or I didn't take a picture. I'm such a Luddite. I don't know how to use a freaking cell phone, not even one of the cheap flip phones like I have. So I tried to take a picture of it. It was it's like this big cake, and it feels like Bernat blanket kind of yarn, or it looks like it. It's wrapped in plastic, so I can't feel what it looks like or feel what it feels like. But it looks like the kind of plush yarn like the Bernat blanket kind of yarn, but it's like this giant cake. I think they were like $30 or $40 or something. I mean, it was cool to see that, you know, big cake of yarn, but I would never buy it. But they did have that, and they were supposed to get. I saw somebody on YouTube show that their Walmart was getting in Bernat Future or something, or I think that's what it's called. And I wanted to look for that when I saw that video, because I thought, like, it looks like some of it's just regular acrylic, but my store doesn't have any of that. I mean, the section in my Walmart is just like so small. I doubt we'll even get any of that in, but I did think that was interesting, because when you hear Bernat, like, I've come across some Bernat yarn that isn't the Bernat blanket, that's acrylic, and it's kind of shocking that, you know, to think of, because like Bernat is so associated with plush yarns, or like the Bernat blanket in my head, that people use for amigurumi and all that kind of stuff. To come across like Bernat and it's like acrylic yarn, it's just kind of weird. But I think some of that Future yarn is acrylic, and so that was an interesting thing. But I just don't think it's going to show up in my store, just because the section is so small. But I didn't expect for them to get those big cakes in either. But there they were on the end cap. But it's just not the kind of yarn that I would particularly like. But I tried to take a picture of it. I swear, it's just my stupid phone, or no, my stupid ass. That's what it is. My phone is perfectly fine. It's just my stupid ass don't know how to use a damn thing. And then I went to Dollar General again to look for the dwarfs, and they didn't have any. And then I went to Hobby Lobby again, and they still didn't have a shipment in. Oh, they did have I didn't get it. They had in the fabric remnants. They had one that was kind of army themed, and I thought, like, I wonder if they have one that's navy themed, because my dad and my grandfather were in the Navy, and because I never seen that yarn. I mean, I never seen that I have yarn on the brain. I never seen that fabric before, and I thought, like, I wonder if they have like some navy themed, and they actually do. They had a bolt of fabric, and I took a picture of it. It's really cool, and it's navy themed, and I was thinking maybe I should get some of that sometime. I'm still working on those runners to go underneath the displays of my dad's flag and my grandfather's flag, and all the stuff that's on top of there. But I thought it would be kind of cool to get some of that. There's a window, like right behind my dad's flag, there's a window. And on top of the window, there's this piece of fabric that I had found. It was in that bin at Goodwill that was like it says domestics or whatever. And it has big ships and stuff. It's this really pretty naval themed piece of fabric. And so I have that over that window that's over the displays. But I was thinking that there is that window there. And I don't know how to make curtains or whatever. But that navy fabric is really cool. And so I thought, if I ever figure out how to make a freaking curtain, it'd be nice to get some of that fabric to go on that window, to go behind that. Because I mean, the fabric on top is just it's a small piece, and over the window itself is just this white piece of fabric there. But it'd be kind of nice to have, you know, some navy themed fabric to go there. But I thought that was interesting that they had that in Hobby Lobby. And I guess the only thing here at the end is I started to crochet a cover for my cane, and let me just finish this row. I'll talk about it. But I use a cane for mobility reasons. It's this whole thing. You know, I have to do with my health and everything. Luckily, I don't have to use it all the time, but I have this cane, and is it getting a little, you know, dingy down here just from years of use and stuff, and I thought it might be kind of cool to like add something crochet related to this. And so what I thought I would do, I was going to freehand it. I'm sure there's an easier way to do this, but I thought I can make like a long panel and then sew it up like all the way to the top, except like leave a little gap there, and then attach like a chain or something where I can tie it on like around the little metal ring up here, and so that I can, you know, take it off, because I wouldn't want to leave it on here all the time in case I'm, like, you know, caught out in the rain or whatever. I'd want to be able to take the crocheted panel off. But I thought it might be kind of cool to, you know, crochet an accessory to go on my cane and stuff. And so what I thought I would do was make that with that Ice Yarns Picasso Rainbow, because I was really excited about using that Ice Yarns in the colorway Picasso Rainbow, because I had gotten that on Amazon, and it was pricier than I like to pay for yarn. I think it was like $17 or something for 3 of those little, I guess they're like donut balls, but they're those little tiny balls. Let me just, whenever I get to the end of a row, I always like to crochet just a couple stitches on the next row, and then I'll put the little stitch marker in there. But I gotten those Picasso Rainbow donut ball things on Amazon, and I was like really excited to use them for something. And I thought this would be kind of cool, because I do love how that yarn looks, and it's rainbow colored, and it has like some sparkliness to it. And so I wanted to use that yarn, and so I started to work with that yarn, and like I mean, I love that yarn. It's so pretty, and just really, like, I love vibrant colors, and I love, you know, sparkly, glittery things and stuff. But working with that yarn, God, I was so disappointed. I hated that it was so difficult for me to use, and I don't know. I was just got so disappointed, because I was really looking forward to, you know, making that cane cover, and I thought, God, and because I was saving that yarn for something really nice. And this is what the yarn looks like. That, you know, ice yarns, the Picasso Rainbow. See how pretty this is, and like I had seen this on in videos before I bought some, and I thought just the look of it kind of made me feel like, oh, this is probably going to be like sticky, or it just looks like it has some kind of like plasticky coating on it or something. But it's actually really nice and soft and squishy or whatever. It's a little hairy, has this little hairy halo on it, but it's gorgeous yarn. I mean, the colors are amazing, and the sparkliness or shininess or whatever, it's amazing yarn just to look at. But working with this yarn, I thought, God, how can this be so frustrating? I knew that it would probably stick on my hands just a little bit, just because of how dry my hands are. You know, how it's the winter, and then OCD, how I compulsively wash my hands all the time. But still, it wasn't just that it was getting stuck on my hands. Like I expected that. Now I used some extra lotion or whatever before I used it, because I thought, is it probably going to get stuck on my dry skin? But then I did a couple stitches, and I messed up on one of the stitches, and I went to frog it. It wouldn't frog. Like I pulled the yarn, and it actually it wouldn't frog. It kind of knotted up there, and so I thought, well, that kind of sucks. Maybe I must have gone into the yarn in the wrong spot, or like I couldn't frog it at all. And so I thought, I'll just start over, because I didn't get very far. And so I started over again, and did the same thing. And then I thought, I must be like doing it wrong. I must be going under the hairy halo or something. And so I thought, I'll go really slowly. And so I did this panel, and it started to turn out really nice. I did my EG stitch, and so it turns out really nice. Like the way it looks in the camera, it's gorgeous. It looks gorgeous in person. It's really pretty. But then I messed up on one of the stitches again, and then I went to frog it. It's impossible to frog. I mean, I was going like really gently. It's like you just tied it off and made a knot, and then that was it. Like, it's impossible to frog. And I thought, like, and I'm such a perfectionist, I can't go like this far and then say, oh, well, that stitch messed up, but I can't frog it, so I'm just gonna, you know, act like it was fine and just keep going. It would drive me crazy. So I don't know. It turned out really nice, and see, it was going to look really nice on my cane, and it, you know, goes all the way around. It would have my EG stitch and this, you know, really pretty rainbow colored, you know, sparkly yarn or whatever on my cane. I mean, this would have turned out so gorgeous, and I may try to do this again in the future, but like I was thinking, God, it was such a disappointment working with that yarn. So now I don't know. I still want to make a cane cover, but and I would love to make it with this, but now I'm just thinking, if this yarn is going to be that frustrating, then maybe I should just pick another yarn or something. But I really wanted to use this yarn. I can't believe how disappointing it was about this yarn, because I was just so excited to use this. I was so excited that I didn't use it for a long time, because I wanted to find the perfect project for it, because I just knew it would turn out really nice. And then when I finally sit down and use it, it just, you know, it's impossible to frog, and so that just really sucks. And so that's a huge disappointment. I hate that, like in the video, I'm like, oh, I got this yarn, and it was a huge disappointment. Thanks for watching. Like, you know, but I mean, it was exciting, you know, getting to use this yarn and stuff, and how it turned out really nice and pretty. But God, I don't know. It was disappointing, and so I was disappointed with the yarn. But I do have what's left of this, and I do have the other two. But maybe one day I'll just try to see how it gets caught on my my hands. See, it looks like it's floating there. It's not. It's caught. The hairy halo's caught on my hand. Whatever. I don't know. maybe it'll work out again in the future if I, you know, take my time with it or whatever, and just make sure I don't make any mistakes, or just try to get past the fact that, oh, I made a mistake, but I have to keep going because I'm not going to be able to frog it. I don't know, but that was another thing I tried to do, but it just hasn't been successful yet, but it will be in the future whenever I do it. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was all over the place, and I was mainly just crocheting and just talk about a couple random things. Oh, I didn't find this, and didn't find this, and I got this, and I tried to use this, and this didn't work. It just feels like sort of a downer kind of video or whatever, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one.